Good evening. I'm your host, Karen Hughes, in this series on the Network of Global Corporate Control. Today's segment is pre-recorded and is about avoiding World War III. Thanks to DCTV, to Carmen Stanley, studio producer and director, Maurice Jackson, audio and teleprompter, and Couchet Starnes, floor director. Another name for the Network of Global Corporate Control is the banking cartel. The banking cartel is losing its fight for the world's wealth. We update you on this battle. Who is we? For 2 years, you all have seen the comments and suggestions from previous segments in this series that are uploaded on YouTube. And when YouTube tries to censor things, I use archive.org and other places on the internet you tell me about. The things that the banking cartel tries to censor are the most popular posts in my social media. On June 13th, I tweeted you the 2 documents that appeared on my computer screen when I booted up. And then I tweeted, "Some hackers are friendly." During the global currency reset, transparency issues are vital. As a whistleblower, I can tell you this is one area that I'm going to be hands-on and focusing on. On June 10th, I tweeted, U.S. monetary gold reserves are there to keep us out of World War III. I vote United States shares on the Board of Governors of the World Bank and IMF. It was the banking cartel that brought the world into World War II. As we have seen in earlier segments, Churchill, Hitler, Mao Zedong, and Stalin were all agents of the banking cartel. The banking cartel attempted to censor the last document, and so if you go into the teleprompter, you'll see what I wrote about that. One of the banking cartel's favorite ways of starting wars is false flags. False flag operations are covert, that means secret operations, to deceive the public in such a way that the operations appear as if they're being carried out by other entities. The term comes from when one ship would hang the flag of its enemy before attacking another ship in its own navy. Because the enemy's flag was hung instead of the flag of the real country of the attacking ship, it was called a false flag attack. Last week, a viewer reminded me of a tweet that I made in 2013. And I said, what do 9/11, the 7/7 London subway bombings, the Spanish train bombing, the Boston Marathon bombing, the Oklahoma City bombing have in common? Drills. In 2004, when Jacek Kugler brought the power transition model to the World Bank from the United States National War College, Jacek told me that we have 5 years to prevent a nuclear war in Syria. During the past 13 years so far, we have managed to avoid this. What have we been doing to prevent the outbreak of World War III? Why, we have been exposing the banking cartel, which is using its highly placed agents to try and destroy the United States of America. We have exposed these traitors and bankrupted them. All of the U.S. Congress are agents of the banking cartel. So is Donald Trump. So are the governors of the 50 states and their adjutants general. So is General Dunsford. So is Muriel Bowser, Washington, D.C.'s mayor. So is Neil Gorsuch. What is the banking cartel? The best way to answer this question is to give you the article that was written by 3 mathematicians at the Federal Institute of Technology, Vitaly Glatfelder and Battiston. What is really going on in Syria? This quote is from an interview with Greg Hunter. Hudis, who was senior counsel and worked at the World Bank for 20 years, charges Qatar, who has all this natural gas, wanted to run a natural gas pipeline through Syria to reach the European market. Who's supplying the European market with gas? Russia. All this business about dead babies and sarin gas is just to keep us confused. And this is taken from a tweet of mine. I was talking about rogue money, which is bought and paid for by the banking cartel. We have stopped World War III, as I have already told you. The power transition model from the U.S. War College, which simulates reality with 90% likelihood, says that a coalition for the rule of law has overtaken the banking cartel. For the U.S. military, this means General Dunford is outed as a traitor, and he doesn't defend himself. Look at what I sent to the German and Japanese defense attachés, that the United States is going to fulfill its treaties to defend them using the United States monetary gold reserves that I am accessing as the United States representative on the Board of Governors and the Overseer Mandate Trustee, appointed by 189 ministers of development and finance on the Board of Governors. The way you know this is reality, and I'm not just making this up, I'm showing you proof. You can see what I wrote to Emperor Akihito before he announced that he is stepping down. And you can read the letter from my teleprompter. This screenshot of my correspondence with the Electoral College shows you that Donald Trump is simply an agent of the banking cartel. He's a bit actor, and he is not legitimate. On page 5 of a tweet that you can access from the teleprompter, you can see a letter from China's ambassador referring to the funds that were approved by the late President Ferdinand Marcos. It is these assets in the global debt facility that are keeping us out of World War III, as I say in the following tweet. Let's talk about Germany. As I've said many times, you need to focus on whether the United States keeps Germany as an ally in order to see whether we can stay out of World War III. The banking cartel is trying to scare you with fake news, telling you that we're landing in World War III. And the Kaiser report, they said the same exact thing. And it's forgetting that there's a coalition for the rule of law that is stronger than the banking cartel, and that we are in control of the world's assets and monetary gold reserves that are on deposit with the Board of Governors of the World Bank and IMF. We are not landing in World War III. I tweeted my letter to Germany's defense attaché informing Germany that the U.S. is honoring its defense treaties with Germany. I showed you that the Syria false flag isn't happening, and the South China Sea conflict is also not happening because a critical mass of humanity is stronger than the banking cartel that brought us World War II, and we are not letting them do the same thing by landing us in World War III. Angela Merkel and Donald Trump are agents of the banking cartel. The corrupt politicians have all been exposed as simply corrupt politicians. They're bribed with paper currency that's issued by the banking cartel. We are in a global currency reset, and the fake paper money is being replaced by the gold deposited in the global debt facility at the end of World War II, and also local currencies that your villages and towns will issue. We are following the power transition model from the United States National War College, which was mentioned 4 years ago in my interview on Germany's main business blog. And there's also a translation that you can access from, and I've tweeted this in the teleprompter. The power transition model started predicting that a coalition for the rule of law would come into existence to fight the corruption in the international financial system. This coalition started to form back in 2010 when Elaine Colville, another World Bank whistleblower, and I got our statements in the United Kingdom and European Union parliaments. The most likely scenario, with 90 to 95% chance of success, is that we stay out of World War III. The journalists are corrupt. The Kaiser report is controlled by the banking cartel, and they want you to be frightened. And I'm also going to give you a link to the power transition model and links to 2 talks on TED, they're uploaded on YouTube, by the political scientists who developed the model for Ronald Tamman, who was the chair of the Department of National Strategy and professor of national strategy at the National War College at the time. And on a tweet, you can see a letter from China's ambassador referring to the funds approved by the late President Ferdinand Marcos. It's these assets in the global debt facility that are keeping us out of World War III. Right now, it appears as if the banking cartel is trying to convince people of a different reality. But there is only one reality. Either we succeed in having a global currency reset and exchange the banking cartel's worthless paper for local currencies issued by villages and towns and national currencies out of the world's monetary gold reserves in the global debt facility, or we all perish. I am going to show you a comment in the video of a segment on DCTV. It tells you that there's a critical mass of people who understand that the current reality is very different from fake news. You can also see how Jim Rickards, a CIA agent, wants to confuse people that the World Bank and IMF are still captured by the banking cartel. The Board of Governors of the World Bank and IMF, that's 189 ministers of finance and development, they're in charge. And ever since the annual meeting in Peru in 2015, I speak for them, and none of the embassies contradict this. And James Rickards says the elite have placed approximately 189 agents in the IMF. No, they're not agents. Rickards wants to convince you that there is no coalition. You either believe a CIA agent or you believe me. It's up to you. And if you believe him, then you're dead and you have World War III. So it's really a pretty easy choice for you to make, I would think. And if you don't want to make it, that's your business, but we'll all go down together. We're all in this together. The goal, according to Richards, is to control the world's wealth extraction of the world's population and creation of a world currency and a world tax system and a world government. Well, we're not going to have that tax system because the people are not going to choose that. They're going to choose to have their wealth in the global debt facility. Do you agree with Jim's analysis? Will the special drawing right global currency be created? That's up to you. Do you want to use the SDRs or would you rather have gold? Gold has been the currency that humanity has used from time immemorial, and that's the way it's going to remain. Rickards would say that since he is CIA, that the SDR global currency is cabal. Well, what crash? There shouldn't be a crash because we are in control of the world's gold. We have the assets, and we are in control. But you can purchase gold and silver now as insurance. That's probably a smart move. Last month, Zero had suspended my right to log in and respond to their articles. It took me a long time to make a comment, which you can see on the teleprompter. That's what I was reading you about Rickards being a CIA mouthpiece. I am Overseer Mandate Trustee of the World's Monetary Gold Reserves in the trust called the Global Debt Facility, and its initials are TVM LSM 666. The simple fact is that the Board of Governors of the World Bank and IMF administer the Global Debt Facility, and I am authorized to speak on behalf of the Board of Governors of the World Bank on matters concerning the Global Debt Facility. We are not into a collapse. The global currency reset to replace fractional fiat currencies with gold-filled national currencies and local currencies is going forward. Humanity does not consent to martial law. It's as simple as that. I'm in dialogue with agents of the banking cartel all the time. I called that bit actor Trump on the carpet on Memorial Day. If you don't want to read all the documents, all the proof you need is the fact that General Dunford, Neil Gorsuch, and Donald Trump are all bankrupt after they went into default because they didn't answer 2 affidavits. Those are statements that they were interfering with the United States monetary gold reserves. And when they didn't answer this, they went into default under commercial liens. Sandy Okoro, the former general counsel of the World Bank, is also bankrupt and in default. What Trump, Gorsuch, and Dunford wanted to ignore and couldn't. Remember, all the banks are really just one big bank. In the 1930s, the Fed issued $270 trillion of gold bonds in exchange for the gold that was held by the Vatican and by royalty. These bonds are called Treaty of Versailles bonds. The bonds have been accruing compound interest and are now worth more than $2 quadrillion. So I sent a notarial protest on these bonds to Megan Brennan, the Postmaster General of the U.S., and His Excellency Bishar Abdurrahman Hussain, Director General of the Universal Postal Union International Bureau. After that, I recorded this debt under the Uniform Commercial Code with the Secretaries of State in the 11 states where the 12 banks in the Federal Reserve System are located. The Federal Reserve Banks of St. Louis and Kansas City are both in Missouri. During this interregnum in the legitimate government of the U.S., other impostors are masquerading as if the Constitution of 1789 was in force while it is not. The Secretary of Defense, Jim Mattis, Deputy Secretary of Defense, Bob Work, and Vice Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Paul Selva. These men are traitors and will go down in history as enemies of all of humanity. If any of these scoundrels think this is untrue, they're welcome to try and refute it. During the global currency reset, there is going to be a lot of noise and blowback from the banking cartel. This corruption is going to diminish with time. It doesn't mean the banking cartel is in charge. The banking cartel is broken and insolvent and in the process of winding down. The banking cartel it's irrevocable. This is because enough of us know about the banking cartel and it's no longer hidden. We have reached enough critical mass and we have pivoted on the turning point. How do I know this and how can I convince you of this? It's because I'm still getting through and we're building momentum by word of mouth. The search engines no longer mention me. That is to say, they put documents up that are very negative. The good documents they won't give you. It's a good thing, actually. It shows you that the banking cartel exists and it's trying to influence you. It also shows you, in case you need more proof, that I'm not working with the banking cartel. I'm working entirely with and for humanity, and everything I accomplish is due to that and that alone. In previous segments, I've showed you a statement from Poland's Minister of Defense about advanced military weaponry that's jamming your thought processes. The way to overcome this technology is to be aware of it and to gather a group of friends who can help each other to figure out how each member of the group is being affected. It's useful to try and categorize which people are especially susceptible to scalar wave and EMT programming. One surefire way to find this out is to casually mention the existence of mind control technology. Those people who seem to be allergic to the topic are the ones who are most susceptible. Drop the subject with people enslaved by mind control, because there is no way to have a constructive discussion with them. The only way to get through to these people is the rising tide principle. A rising tide raises all boats. I'm going to be giving you the latest comments that people wrote in on the archives for the DCTV segment. But before I do that, I just wanted to say how we're turning the tables. Country debt is a scam. That is to say that the interest on country debt that we're being charged, we don't owe it because the banking cartel owes us much more. They owe us $2 quadrillion. That offsets country debt. And so what's going to be happening is that we're going to be keeping the money that is being taken from you in taxes. It's not going to happen immediately. Obviously, we're going to have to do things in an organized fashion. And the way we're going to be agreeing on how this is going to be organized, there's a structure for this. And that is to say that we're going to be using the structure that was set in place, the World Bank and IMF. And that's going to be, the coalition is actually humanity, which is in control of the World Bank and IMF. What you have been seeing up until now is that the banking cartel has captured those institutions, and we're going to let the people that are supposed to be running them run them. And because I vote the shares of the United States, that means that humanity is going to be in charge. And I'm going to be guided by you. In the very beginning, the only thing that we're really going to be doing, that is the World Bank and IMF, is replacing the fake paper currencies with real gold. But before we can do that, the value of the gold has to be ascertained, and that can be done very, very mathematically by making a basket of calculating what the prices of commodities have been. And we're going to be doing this in tandem. It's going to have to be done by establishing a cleanup at the local grassroots levels first. And we're obviously not going to be able to move very quickly on this because all of the existing institutions have been corrupted. And so we'll be in consultation as we go forward from the grassroots up. And it's not going to be something that is going to happen easily because, as I've said, we've never done this before. And as we've been exposing the various professions, the journalists, the lawyers, the accountants, we're not going to be able to rely on them because we've seen that they only know how to operate in a corrupt fashion. So a lot is going to have to, we're going to have to roll up our sleeves and organize ourselves. Now, let me give you the comments that were made at the last archives, and you're going to be commenting going forward. We're just going to be working together and learning how to work together. Okay, so here are the comments. One was from Douglas Brooks. When is the Federal Reserve going to be shut down? And the answer to that is stay tuned. Humanity and the banking cartel are in a big tug of war, but the Board of Governors of the World Bank and IMF has already placed the banking cartel in receivership. That means they're in bankruptcy in the global debt facility, and that contains the world's wealth. And a couple of weeks ago, I tweeted about Pope Francis's attempt to steal the wealth in the global debt facility. And I invalidated this because he had signed an agreement with Christine Lagarde, and Christine Lagarde had no right to do that because it had not been authorized. Jim Kim was fired by the board because he was also breaking the Articles of Agreement of the World Bank and IMF. A critical mass knows that humanity holds all the cards, the world's wealth and the global debt facility. And we need to have an inventory list, update it, and we will do that. But in the meantime, we know that there's a lot there. And as you've seen from an email that I got from Wolfgang Struck, I believe that there are television cameras in all of the main storage vaults where we've got this wealth. And I also understand that there are large snakes guarding it, which people are watching with the television cameras. And there were also additional comments. Big Kahuna said that the question about when we're going to have the global currency reset, that's the quadrillion-dollar question. And somebody named Renegade Roadhouse said, never. There are pigs who need to be in prison for enslaving humanity with a Ponzi scheme. And I said that's a one-way ticket to extinction of the human race. We need an amnesty for there to be a peaceful transition. Amnesty doesn't mean they keep their jobs, and amnesty doesn't mean they're immune from public shame for what they did. And Clay McCormick said, Karen, strange things have happened since I started being very vocal on social media, like the apartment next door receiving clips of 9mm free of charge, or someone I thought was a friend trying to beat me to death. Now, I'm not saying that this has anything to do with the crazy that's going around, though I think because of the anger this has caused in me, I very much want to help with the reset, to help speed it up. If someone thought that they would intimidate me, they went about it the wrong way. Now I'm motivated to do whatever I can to make their day ruined. And the reset seems to be the ticket. So please tell me there's something I can do to help anything at all. And my response, thank you very much for asking. There are some people who think they can just sit back on the sidelines and allow everyone else to do the work. We're all in this together, and the chance we all succeed is over 90%, according to the power transition model from the U.S. National War College. I've said many times what everyone needs to be doing. See pages 9 and 10 in a link. What can you do? What you can do to end the corruption that's affecting the United States credit rating and about to cause a currency war. Get a study group of at least 3 people together. This is for your own protection. These people are going to signal to you when you're acting out of character to help you become aware of military, scalar, and electromagnetic frequency weaponry. This is very real, as referred to by Poland's Minister of National Defense. Work together to figure out what's actually going on, as opposed to lies. Develop your critical thinking. Then work with local merchants in your villages and towns to create local currencies. Thank you for listening to another segment of the Network of Global Corporate Control. In this segment about avoiding World War III, you can see that it's possible to stay out of World War III simply by accepting the gift of love from Jose Rizal, the world's wealth in the global debt facility. It's there for humanity in the global currency reset to clean up the corruption in the world's money system.